Algebra 2. Today we're going to be doing lesson 11-4, graphing square root functions. So we got one more square root function, and this is the graphing. I'm going to show you a really easy, fast way, so we're not doing those table of values. We're going to do it using translations, vertical and horizontal translations. So the first thing is, what does the graph of square root look like? Okay. So the basic parent function, the basic graph of the square root of x is a swoop, or a half of a parabola. Okay? Remember, if I were to complete this parabola down here, those would be your imaginary numbers. So that's why it's only half of a sideways parabola. So that is your basic parent function of the square root of x. Okay? One thing we need to remember, domain, and we remember it when I had you do those pre-calculus worksheets. Domain goes from left to right. Okay, so domain goes from left to right, so it is on your x-axis. So here, if I were to state what my domain is, it doesn't go past 0, right, on the x-axis. So I would say that x has to be greater than or equal to 0. That's what my domain would be. This one here. So when you have a number outside, now again, this is a swoop looking thing. When you have a number outside of that radical, we're going to be doing a vertical translation. Okay, so we're doing a vertical translation. Vertical means up to down. So we don't flip the sign on that. I'm going to go up 3 units. That's my starting point, so it's just like your y-intercept. When we graphed with slope, draw your swoop. Done. So what would your domain be? Starts at 0, right? And goes to infinity. So x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, this one down here. When it is all contained under the radical, everything is contained under a radical, we have horizontal translations. Okay, so that means we're moving left or right. So we're dealing with horizontal translations. Now, when it's all contained, it's just like we did the zero product property. We flip the sign on that number. You're going to do the same thing with a horizontal translation. We're going to flip the sign on this number. So instead of going left 6, we're going to go right 6. So we're going to go right 6 and draw a swoop. Now what would your domain be? We're starting at where? 6, right, on the x-axis? So your x would have to be greater than or equal to 6. So this one here, because it's a positive 2, I'm not going to start right 2, I'm going to do the opposite of it. So I'm going to start left 2. Draw my swoop. So again, left 2, so x has to be greater than or equal to -2 for your domain. So again, like this one here, left 2. This one here, right 6. This one, you don't change a sign on it. It's just like a y-intercept. That's the direction you go up or down. Okay, so let's look at another one here on the back. We have x plus 4. I'm going to change this to actually x minus 4. So again, it's not all contained. So we're dealing with a vertical translation. So we have to move up or down. So we're going to be going down 4 and drawing the swoop. And domain, again, because it starts at 0 on that x-axis, has to be bigger than 0. So that is what you're doing today. Pretty easy assignment. You don't have to do any table of values. Graph it using the translations like I showed you just now. Have fun with it. I have not met anybody who didn't like graphing the square root functions. So there it is, square root, graphing your square root functions.